Hello and welcome to the special on the print. I'm Snehesh Alex Philip. A lot is happening right now in Israel and between Israel and Hamas. On the weekend, that is the last weekend, the Hamas carried out a terror blitzkrieg against Israel. And this terror blitzkrieg has resulted in the death of nearly 1,000 Israelis. Well, I would say nearly 1,000 people, majority of whom were Israelis, because remember that there were Germans, the Americans also who've lost their lives. And over 2,500 people have been injured, and those killed include women, children, and when I say children, I mean toddlers, as well as elderly, people who were on bed, people who were on wheelchair. And nearly about 100 other citizens have also been kidnapped and taken away to Gaza by Hamas, which is proscribed as a terror group of course, by Israel, but also by the US and the UN. And I have with me the Deputy Permanent Representative of Israel to the UN, Ms. Michal Maayan. And, I'll play this clip of her recent speech at the UN. And if you should hear this speech, we also have it on our YouTube channel to really feel what Israel is going through.
Sadly, sitting amongst us today are representatives of murderous regimes who celebrated the death of my people, who celebrated the snatching of babies from their mothers' arms, who applauded the butchering of entire families, who encouraged the execution of elderly civilians waiting for the bus. I will not take morality lessons from them. They insult the memory of mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons of Israel.
So thank you so much for speaking to ThePrint, Michal, and thank you for coming on this show.
Thank you, Snehesh, and thank you for inviting me to talk about our situation in these very difficult times.
Yes, absolutely. And to begin with, I offer my sincere, heartfelt condolences to you and your country for this terrible loss and for this terrible attack that has taken place. So, for our viewers, what is the situation on the ground as of now? And I hope your family, everybody is safe.
Thank you, Snehesh. First, I want to thank you for the condolences, and I appreciate it. We appreciate also the official stance of India, who have condoned this from the very first moment. Thank God my family and friends are okay, but Israel is a very small country, and there is no family and no person that is not affected by this horrible, barbaric terror attack. Last Saturday, 7th of October, more than 1,000 terrorists stormed into our country. The numbers are growing all the time. So unfortunately, I have to update you that more than 1,200 people have died. And we are talking, like you said, men, women, children, elderly, slaughtered in the worst barbaric attack that we have ever seen since the Holocaust. And that means that we are now at war, and we are at war with a horrendous terrorist organization, and we will defeat it. We will defeat Hamas.
I'm sure that Israel will find its victory in the war against Hamas. And yes, India officially stands by you, and I'm sure you would have seen the outpour of support from Indian citizens as such for Israel. Coming to this whole issue, now there is a important player that is out there besides Hamas and Israel, which is Iran. Now, Iran has been calling on the Islamic and Arab countries to go ahead and confront Israel on its war on Hamas. So what role do you think Iran has played in this particular attack and in the overall support to Hamas?
So the one detail I forgot to mention at the beginning of my commentary is beyond the 1,000 terrorists, we have received over 5,000 missiles that have been launched from Gaza to civilian populations. And this is, of course, a double war crime because they're using and they're hiding cowardly behind civilian populations in order to shoot and kill us and our civilians. And this has all been funded and supported by the Ayatollah regime, by Iran. They have been training and supporting the terrorists of Hamas. They have been doing this across the Middle East. They have been training and supporting the terrorists of Hezbollah. The only interest that Iran has is to destabilize the Middle East. I think they're very worried about our efforts as a country that seeks peace, to stable the Middle East, to make peace with our neighbors. And I want to stress this. This is what we are looking for. This is what we want. But we are now at war, and we will prove to Iran, and we will prove to everyone who is looking, that whoever hurts and attacks and kills our civilians will pay a price.
Iran's UN mission 3 days back came out with a statement. I'm reading out the statement, and it said, the resolute measures taken by Palestine constitute a wholly legitimate defense against 7 decades of oppressive occupation and heinous crimes committed by the illegitimate Zionist regime. So do you think this is a way to justify what the Hamas action itself?
Absolutely. And that was a big part of my statement. And I have to say, this is still a large part of all of my statements. I give statements almost every day at the UN. And the message is very clear. These horrendous attacks, killing over 40 babies in one town, taking out I'm sorry, it's very horrible. It's hard for me to even say it, okay? Dragging Holocaust survivors and executing them. There is no excuse for such actions. And such actions should be condemned by all. And I include also the Palestinian Authority in that, and I include Iran, and I include Syrian Arab Republic, because we are all human. We are humans. We are all human beings. And we should not be doing this. And there's no justification for these horrible atrocities. And the fact that Iran is trying to justify it and trying to garner support for these actions really reveals their true intention. And they're not very shy about it. Iran seeks to destroy Israel. They will not succeed. We have, as a Jewish people and as a country, we have overcome many challenges. And this is a very dark time for us. I have to be very honest. On a personal note, it's hard times, but it's also unifying us. And we are coming together, and we will fight this war, and we will win it, and we're here to stay. And that's a message I want to put out there, not just for your viewers, but also for any Iranian representative that is watching us.
Well, those are strong words coming from you, and I can perfectly understand where it is coming from. And as I said, no one could ever, in the right sense, justify what the Hamas has done over the weekend. You've spoken about the fact that you're reaching out to the Middle East. So in the past you have gone ahead and stabilized your relations with UAE. You were already in talks with the Saudis. Is this also a geopolitical thing at play, that there are people who want to sabotage this whole Israel-Arab outreach that is happening?
I believe so. I believe that our continuous efforts and successes to establish peaceful relations, to contribute to the better life of everyone in the Middle East and the economical growth, this is a huge threat to terrorist organizations. This is a huge threat to countries that are trying to wipe us out of the map, and they're not succeeding. And I think this is part of the reason they're doing this. But at the end of the day, I really want to stress what drives the terrorist organization Hamas is the fact that they are seeking to attack and harm and kill and annihilate us. They are really using ISIS tactics. For us, Hamas is ISIS. It's the same threat. And it's not just a threat for Israel. It's a threat for every country that believes in moderation, that believes in democracy, that believes in moral value. And the countries that are supporting Hamas are lacking that.
Okay. In between all this, the first India is coming out with a so-called evacuation plan. They've launched an operation Ajay to bring back nearly 18,000 Indians in Israel in case if they want to return. How bad is the situation out there? Do you think, it is the Indians, nearly 18,000 Indians in Israel should leave because there's a tough days ahead because of war has already broken out? How would you look at it?
Well, I won't say it's an easy situation, and I think it's going to take a long time. This is not a short-term war because we want a long-term solution, and we will not return to the way things were. We will not allow any terrorist organization to live on our borders and attack us. So I think every Indian should make his choice. I can also share, though, that during this very difficult times, what we're seeing a part of Israelis, there is a lot of people all around the world that are actually flying into Israel. So that's part of who we are, where we want to go and unite and help. But of course, we also have faith in our security forces and our country, and we're doing whatever it takes to protect them. So I think that those who choose to stay are very much welcome. But again, it's a personal choice for them.
Well, I agree with you on that. You've mentioned about this war that you've launched, and you said that this is going to be a long war. Now, of course, you have the Hezbollah, which has opened up. You, of course, have the Israelis who've carried out, an attack on the international airport in Damascus, as we speak, a few hours before. We've seen the videos of the bombings in Gaza. Now there are pictures of civilians also coming out, of civilians killed. And these include children, these include women. And the UN has also spoken out. It says that at least 11 UN staff and personnel, as well as 30 students at the UN schools, have been killed in Gaza Strip since Hamas terrorists launched the devastating shock attack on Israel. How would you look at this now? Are you in a catch-22 situation?
Well, I have to be very honest. War is horrible. And unfortunately, during war times, innocent lives are lost. But I really want to stress that the reason that innocent Palestinians are dying right now is the terrorist organization Hamas. They're using them in a very cynical way, and we are doing whatever we can in order to avoid harming them. But what is our first and prime priority right now is to win this war, is to eradicate the terrorist infrastructure. And I also failed to mention that during that first day of the war, when more than 1,000 people have died, 1,200 people, Hamas also took over 150 hostages. And the hostages taken are also men, women, children, babies taken from their mothers. So that is also a priority for us during this war. We are going to do whatever it takes to bring them back to their families. We are going to do whatever it takes to protect our civilians, and we're going to do whatever it takes to send a very strong message to everyone who is watching and wishing for our death, that it won't happen.
At the same time, you have the Israeli defense minister who announced that Israel is cutting off water, power, supply lines to Gaza. And you rightly mentioned that war is not something, it has many pitfalls. A lot of innocents get killed, and that is the truth of war. And I also agree with you that this war was initiated by the Hamas. It was not Israel which took the first step. But this has also become a humanitarian crisis because there are nearly over 1 million Palestinians, who are staying in Gaza Strip. They have fled their homes. There's no place to go, and they are now without food, water, electricity. How does the whole thing work? I know war is dirty, but still.
Well, I want to say a country under attack has no obligation to continue and supply its attackers and terrorists with anything. And of course, I also want to refer to the fact that over the years, billions of dollars have been flowing into the Gaza Strip by a variety of donors. And Israel has also been helping out to construct a long-term project in the Gaza Strip. But all this money and all the material that has been going into Gaza in order to build infrastructure and schools and hospitals has been taken over by Hamas in order to build tunnels and fund missiles, guns and weapons, death and destruction. So I'm going to repeat what I said before. We are going to do whatever it takes in order to eradicate the infrastructure of terrorism in Gaza. And we, of course, lament every casualty and every civilian life lost. But we are at war, and we will defend our people.
So what is your strategy to bring the hostages back? Is there any back channel negotiations around with the Hamas through Qatar, which is playing a very important role?
Well, I can't disclose what we're doing for obvious reasons, but I can assure you that my government is doing whatever it takes in every channel that is possible and that is open. And we have seen this over the years, our resolve to bring everyone home. Unfortunately, this has been abused. I can't even imagine what's going on for the hostages right now, but I know from previous incidents, Hamas doesn't only take live hostages, it also takes, unfortunately, dead hostages with them. And every person is as equal and as important to us. And we want to bring all of them safe and back home to Israel.
While this whole operation is on, another thing which has come to light is the fact that was Israel, it's known for its intelligence. Mossad is something which is revered by many and feared by many at the same time. And the Israeli security forces, such security systems, still there was a failure, in the sense that this was an operation that would have easily taken at least a year or two in planning. How do you see this? Is this something of a setback to you? Is this also, Israel also needs to look within itself for what has happened?
Well, I think we were taken by surprise. There's no doubt about that. But we are now, what we're focusing on is winning this war. This has happened before. After the war will be won, there will be some investigations as to what happened, how this was able to go through it the way it did. But I have no doubt, first, that we will prevail, we will win the war, and second, that we will grow stronger from this dark, dark time. And we've done it before, and we will do it in the future.
While we were just speaking just about an hour back, India's foreign ministry held this weekly press conference. And of course, it was dominated by the whole Israel-Hamas issue. And the Indian foreign ministry has made it clear and says that while it completely backs Israel against this terror attack, and India has called it a terror attack by Hamas, it also says India has always advocated the resumption of direct negotiations towards establishing a sovereign, independent, and viable state of Palestine. How would you see this?
I think we all want to live together in peace in the Middle East, but I think this is not the time to have the conversation about that. This is a time for us to focus on responding to the worst atrocities we have seen since the establishment of the State of Israel. We are defending ourselves. We first expect and are very grateful to every country that has condemned these events, but we also expect the international community to support us in our legitimate right for self-defense and react to this horrible, horrible event. And it's really about our. It's not just a war against Hamas. It's about the future of the State of Israel. And that future is going to be a good future, but these are, again, difficult times, and we will overcome them.
One last question. We've seen number of rallies being carried out in developed countries like in Canada, in European countries, in Australia, where there were pro-Palestinian marches that were carried out. And I was actually shocked and sad to hear the slogans that were being raised. One, for example, at one of the rally, the slogan, and I'm sorry for saying this aloud, but the slogan that was used, and I quote, "Gas the Jews." You have such statements coming out. So is it very important to call this out and see the issue of Palestine different from the terror attack that Hamas has carried out?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. I think it's very sad to see these demonstrations because these are people who really don't completely understand what they're supporting at the moment. They are supporting a terrorist organization. They are supporting Hamas, who has done nothing for the well-being of the Palestinian cause or the Palestinian people. Hamas seeks destruction and is not interested in the well-being of the Palestinian. And there is a major difference between the Palestinian people and the terrorist organization Hamas. And a lot of people are failing to see that distinction. It's an important distinction. And the slogans that we're unfortunately hearing really reveal what is standing behind the ideology, the murderous ideology of Hamas. It is about hating the Jews. It is about rancid anti-Semitism. And they're not even ashamed to call these slogans out. And that really shows us all what they believe in. And I want to add on a personal note, I really can't believe the things I'm seeing online. The fact that they also took videos and their pride of the horrible things that they did. Again, I don't believe the people protesting around the world in support of this realize what they're doing, realize the choice, the moral choice they're doing. They choose to support slaughter of children and babies. And I would like to think that is out of ignorance. And I agree with you. These are hard sights, and it's really hard for us to see them as well.
Are there any back channel talks for any kind of a human corridor that might be there in the Gaza before the Israeli troops move in? Because I think that is part of the plan, which is there for the Israeli soldiers to move into Gaza Strip.
Again, I can't share what's planned, but I can assure you that our military will do whatever it takes. But it also takes into consideration the need for humanitarian aid. But our first and foremost priority at the moment is really to take down a murderous, horrible terrorist organization. That is our focus, and that is what we're going to do. And like I say in my statements in the UN, we will prevail. And we're here to stay. Israel is here to stay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll second you on that Israel is here to stay and that you will prevail against a terror organization. But at the same time, I hope that the civilian casualties are not really there, because at the end of the day, it's human lives that matter. But yes, Hamas needs to be taken down, and they need to be taken to task for the dastardly terror attack that they've done on Israel. But thank you so much for speaking to ThePrint. And once again, my sincere condolences, and so of my colleagues here, with you as well as Israel, for what has happened over the weekend.
Thank you so much, Snehesh. And thank you for the Indian people for their support as well.
Thank you so much.